Okay. Uh, yeah, I'm on fire. A big word in the lexicon, in the circulation library, the morphogenetic field structure. Library builders, what was held in memory that we share with others, if you will, why we put it in memory and share it with others on the next event, the next event, the next opening, closing that circuit. So I'm going to think of two words: divergence, and of course the movie Divergence, Cassidy, Project Camelot, right? Diverge, what's die? Two. Dipole, binary, B-I. I ain't getting that bisexual, binary, two, quantum parallel universes, right? Dipoles, bipole, biwave. I'm three, which is one. I'm one. I'm the law of one. I'm one. We give love to all creation. End of story. No, beginning of the story. What do you want to experience tonight? You want to start a new story? You want to create a new reality? That would be a divergence, wouldn't it? Because they live in a Truman Show movie set. I live in the trees on the beaches. That's called divergent. In the way that those letters that represent numbers, which represent electrons or energy, are experienced. So the reason that this might have relevance, like in a reference librarian, and you want to go experience something you haven't experienced before, well, here's a book. Have you experienced something like this? Well, you don't know unless you remember it. Could have been that you experienced it before, but it was memory wiped. Now you're going to experience it again because it got reprogrammed. Now you're going to experience it again. This is what makes it easy when you choose to get on your hands and knees and surrender to yourself. Okay, that's really what it is. That's what I did in a motel room. Okay, when I decided I'm not sharing space anymore with a demon. Okay, I'm done with this. So you get on your hands and knees and you surrender your soul to the rest of the universe of all creation, which is another soul, if you will, or if you will, the source from which all love comes. Because you know from whence you came, from which you were born. You were born out of what love is. So you're returning to know what love is. In the same way, for example, when I was experimenting, because I was a small child and realized I'm Superman, I'm Flash, like a flash drive, like the point of conception, which is the point of all light, the center point from which all light, which is all love, gives birth to creation. So you identify with that because that's what you are. That's why you know that you have supernatural abilities. And untouchable. Right? One of the eternals. E's always on. No, the light is always on. The light never goes off because you have chosen to surrender all your energy, in this case, electrons. You want to be the biggest photon, kicking out electrons. You want to serve forever, and that's called surrender all your energy on behalf of all creation. So there's no separation between what you are, which is what love is, and the love that created the first creation, the first universe. Yeah. So I did that in a motel room. When was that? January 6th, 1992. Numbers don't lie. I was born on 1110. 3 is 1, and they make 0. What do you want to experience next on the plus side? Something positive. And so I was reminiscing here and experiencing that about divergence. Because this is, you see it in the movies, but that doesn't mean that's the way that it will be, right? But you saw in that movie, for example, and of course in a lot of movies, I remember one of them which was called recently that I saw. I believe wasn't Halo. It was where they broke the time loop. They realized that they were experiencing the divergence. And the divergence dealt with how they were experiencing who they are together, where one was trying to kill off the other, and the other was defending itself as a result of who they are versus the other. So in order to break that loop so they don't experience the divergence, they had to go back in time before it happened. So now you get into the hybrids and what launched the war in heaven. Okay. So if you perceive it through the way that movie, and this is easily translatable when you think of a city, which is why I was, as a child, running around in bare feet, running into the trees to go be with the great living spirit of Mama Earth and all the powerful waves, all the sentient trees and everything that is in nature, because that's living energy, because that's what we are, which is living light. We're not dead light. We're not artificial intelligence. Okay? We predate that because it starts with love. So now you begin to see the difference between why those are wanting to run an immersion program and the programs running through artificial intelligence, or what's being experienced through the RAM as those changes are happening, because that formation of consciousness is choosing to immerse their consciousness into that mirror. As a result of all the fractals that have been lost, as a result of soul fractures that have been sucked into it. A fallen system, a massive black hole. That's why they chase electrons. That's why corporations chase more and more electrons, use the electrons as the power cells upon which, as an inverter, they're using what it is that they learn through us, weaponize it in order to gain more control over others. That is an AI psychopath way, which is the mental field. Okay? That's a fallen system. A corporation is a fallen system of operating. It is an operating system because it's a network that operates with connected minds that do what it is that they do by the knowledge and the information, which is really the visual information, mathematical data of what they learn how to do. The machines they build, the technologies that they use in order to control more of what they don't love in their mirror. That's a divergence. Their consciousness, which is energy, is using their energy the way they use their energy, that we don't use our energy, which is our consciousness, which is our souls, which is the essence of our spirit, in the way that they do. We live in different worlds, which means our mind's energy doesn't experience the worlds that their mind's energy experiences by the use of what they do with their consciousness and their mirror, what we experience through their mirror. Yeah. So when you saw in that movie, and this is how it works, you know that what they build, as Patty Broussard simply pointed out, do they really expect a different result, which is the collapse of their system, because they don't know what they're doing? They think and believe that they do. That is the Achilles heel of knowledge and the application of a programming interface using that technology. that they are attached to because they're a part of what it is that they do with the use of their energy, which is their consciousness, to experience it. So it's not hard to know when you're running on eternal light, which is living light, to know their future, which means they don't know their future. They think they do through the looking glass technology, or we can see the future. So they're held captive by the technology that they believe in because they experience what that technology allows them to experience what they believe through that experience, by the relationship that they have with the technology that they're using. So there is a difference between them and us. That's right, because we experience what they do with their energy through the use of their technology, what they experience with their consciousness and that technology. So if you want to simplify this down into a condensate, just take any simple dollhouse. You know, when I grew up as a child, girls played with dollhouses and boys played with Tonka trucks. That's programming. Which means you're modeling what's in your mirror, loading it in RAM. Now you're going to give energy to experience living in a dollhouse. The dolls, remember all the dolls, the Russian dolls. Okay? Because they don't know any different. To experience something different than what that is, it's been loaded as programs. That's right. That's why you can measure throughout this universe the history of civilizations that have come and gone and come and gone and come and gone and come and gone. And it's all on record why it failed, 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 and why it failed. And you want to know what the answer is? Believe it or not, the speed of their learning. How fast are they learning by what they choose to build that ends up being destroyed through their own means by which they made it happen? That means they were not able to see the future that far ahead to see the result therein by the use of their mind's energy for which it happened, and thus it was experienced in their future, the result of that. So now we're getting back to teachers and students. So it's like, I don't ever want to have to experience what it is that becomes a result of what that is in my future. I want to be with a teacher that will show me how I never have to experience what that is that they experienced through the use of that technology, through how they built that civilization. The one that came after that, 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 and how that relates to how we build other civilizations throughout other star systems that are now collaborating with each other and communicating with each other, the language of DNA, which is energy, which is consciousness that is experiencing itself, communicating with other units of energy that are aware of themselves. So take a simple Truman Show set, okay? Fly into any city. What do we experience when we get there? Well, that depends on your software, whoever the operator is of that programming, right? What are the programs that they're running? They're running the programs that they're being experienced. They're experiencing the program when they're in the program. So when in their city, they're experiencing what built that city. Those are the programs that built it by virtue of all the beings that are connected to each other, using the operating systems that are connected to each other in order to build the network that built that. Through the network. They networked it. So you can see the network that they built, that they communicate through each other, through their operating systems with each other in order to build what? Something that is automatically going to collapse. How do you know that? Map the data. Okay. An easy way to do it is you can map the numbers electromagnetically through all the operating systems. As a matter of fact, we can give you an approximate date that civilization is going to collapse on itself because they're simply not aware of it. So why would you build something to begin with if you already know it's going to collapse in your own future? You wouldn't do that, would you? That's not very intelligent, is it? So now we're back into when my father reminded me when I was a child, because males, the intelligence side, if you want to think of males being highly intelligent, or the intelligence, what intelligence is, what is intel? Information. Okay, so now we have the information side. Well, how about the creative side? My father reminded me that's where your real power is. Because now we can create something different that hasn't ever happened before. Which means if you already know what works well, which has the greatest value, which is what love is, then love will be the byproduct of what love does with its energy. That means we have a future. That means you know the difference between what you're using your energy for that has a future. Okay. That's a basic log scale. So that's what we do. We measure the success and rate of failure. That can be mapped. That's right. Your future can be mapped. I remember Patty put up called the back tune harmonics. Mapping the future. Mapping, you see how the waves of the fire, the intensity of experiencing more fire in that soul. It's using more of that fire within its light, which is what love is, to build a beautiful, thriving environment that is in peace, harmony, and love with nature. Natural living systems. It means that you have learned how to become one with the natural law of one, which is what love is. That's the law, which is the law of spheres. There is a natural way in which love unfolds a flower, and you experience the fragrance of a girl's flower, which is a goddess. Girls are goddesses to me because they're precious, because life comes out of their canal, the birth canal. So when a girl is experiencing an enormous amount of unconditional love through her own heart and soul, then the soul links and the spirit through the light at the point of conception is going to experience the love through which the Father mated with the goddess. And now the soul and the spirit that comes out of her canal is experiencing the love from which it was created through a father and a mother that are mated, which is Trinity. So you can see the difference between what they build and how they experience what they experience. You can see by virtue of the mirror, which is simple observation. We observe the future. Future proofs past, back to the future. The center point of all creation is what love is. And when you are what love is, because you've surrendered all your energy to be what love is, which is what the law is, which is the law of spheres, to be one with all creation, then it means there is no time. That eliminates all risk, doesn't it? Because love energy does what love energy does with love energy, which is the energy that we use to create with. So that what it is that we create is experiencing what we are, which is what love is. It goes on forever. That's how simple it actually is. That's the engine of creation that drives the highest intelligence from which it's all protected. Love is protection. So I'll share with you one little story that I had when I was around 18, when I was using psychedelics and smoking pot. And I got arrested, and I was given a pink piece of paper, of all things, when I'm a pink flower in my heart. I was given a pink piece of paper that says, "You're coming to jail with us." And I was charged with selling marijuana to a dick. You know what a dick is, a Blade Runner, right? Who was an undercover Orange County sheriff who was posing as a student, okay, as a sophomore in a classroom at Foothill High School in Tustin, California. There was 26 that they went after, right? So here's where the kicker gets in. Where do you think we were getting the marijuana? The same people that were putting us in jail. And of course, you know that. Okay, because guess what? The CIA was operating out of Laguna Beach. That's where we were going. Right? And so what ends up happening out of that is that I spent 45 days when I was 18 years of age in the Orange County jail because I refused to cut my hair and play the program. Right? So you already know how the AI game is played with these war gamers. Okay? So after that was all said and done, I realized that the future, okay, that was ahead of me, I began realizing how this works. And you can tie this directly to COINTELPRO. When you think about how the war of deception, the information wars, which is the form and the color and the shape of the energy of the communicator that is communicating with us, what it is that they're communicating in energy, what it is they're experiencing. So if they're experiencing what love is, they're experiencing what we are. Now we're one with all creation because that's the energy that we created the universe with, huh? So the idea here is that when you go into their courtrooms and you see them wearing black robes, then it's not a coincidence why down here in Hilo on the Big Island, the address is 777. And they lie. They're minus 007 James Bond. They're going in the other direction. Right? Yeah. So they're not plus. They're not on the plus side. They're in the business of appearing before them as a bank and making sure they get a cut of the action out of your battery. Because their battery, they believe, belongs to you as a corporation with your all caps name. Which is another way to say you're a god. Therefore, we need your energy. So we're going to get that energy from you because we used you in all caps with the birth certificate bond, which comes out of the canal. Right? Yeah. Have a great day. I love you all. Be good to yourself.